buenas tardes a todos. Soy, como bien han dicho...
So I am Captain Ramon Gonzalez Gallego. I work in the unit of telematic crimes from Guardia Civil. And first of all, let me tell you what we do to fight cyber crimes. And now I'd like to share with you an example of the operation that we carried out aimed at fighting cyber crimes that are growing in the Tor network. As I say, so I'll tell you what we do from the civil guard and against cyber crimes, then our operation, then I will tell you about the process of investigation. That is to say, all the steps that were taken up until we find the authors of the crime. And then I also would like to finish by sharing with you the most frequently find problems. So for you to have some context, as I say, I work in these units of telematic crimes. This is a group that depends from the operative central unit. Perhaps you heard about it before in the news, the UCO, and then we are civil guards. So civil guard and technological crimes and the fight of it is divided in several branches. And we have the judicial police working with the courts, with the judges, in all the investigation tasks that are carried out to find the attackers. So within that we have departments, electronic and IT departments. So they take care of carrying out forensic analysis, and that evidence is later on sent out to the court. Then within the technical unit we have a specialized crime section, and this section deals with coordinating all the activities carried out at the different units and departments within civil guards, so to prevent overlapping. So because sometimes, well, there may be the case that several units are investigating on the same topic. And then we have the operative central unit taking care of investigation about more complex issues and international issues. There are several groups in here. We have the drug group, the organized crime, the economic crimes, and then that's where we are, telematic crimes. And then in each of the regions of Spain, we have a team specialized in technological crimes. So they investigate this type of crimes according to their competences. Some of them have regional competences, okay, and they investigate those cases that are not very complex. And then we have our colleagues from the information system through the technical area from the cybercrime group. They deal with the unfortunate and, well, unpleasant task of combating, of fighting cybercrime, and, well, such as jihadism. So our mission within the telematic group are very easy to explain. So the main one, as you may imagine, is investigating those questions that are related to IT crimes. And the factor to find out whether it is an investigation to do it ourselves or to be done by another one has to do with the level of that research, or then whether it is national or international. And we also help out our friends and the rest of the UCO units to carry out the investigation. To give you a recent example, any such warrants that we may do, for instance, due to corruption at a council, for instance, or municipal authorities, well, sometimes they find difficulty in doing that search, okay, in analyzing those files. So we also deal with training the staff in the departments that I mentioned before. We keep them updated so that they are more efficient in what they do, and they work in a more coordinated manner. So we also attend several fora. We also collaborate with FBI in child pornography. We are also members of an Interpol group. We are also members of the FIEC group in South America. So we get lots of information from these groups where we belong. And I'm sure you heard the word cybercrime very many times before. Actually, this term was defined for the first time in the Budapest Agreement that took place in Budapest back in 2001. That was organized by the Council of Europe. Spain ratified the agreement but did not implement it up until 2009. Then it took 9 years to implement that agreement. And basically, the agreement defined cybercrimes. Cybercrimes, as such, could be easily divided in 4 major groups. We have the more unpleasant side, which is the child pornography. Each and every one of you present here know very well what I'm talking about. Then, all the crimes that we have all witnessed or suffered ourselves will be internet fraud, for instance, stealing of banking details, or for instance, fraud in websites, or any illicit activity on the internet. And then we also have all the crimes that we have all committed at least once in our life, even if we don't admit it, and I'm referring to hacking, and then the purely crimes, okay? Oh no, intellectual property were the previous one, and this one, the hacking, okay? That is to say, no authorized access to IT systems, disruption of IT systems, etc. And I'm not making this up, okay? All these have been described and classified under the Budapest Agreement. So after presentation about who we are and what we do and why we do it, we move on to our operation, Anonymous operation. Anonymous operation started kind of like a practical joke. So it says, okay, well, a person from FBA that goes and says, once I was comfortably in my office when I got a call from an FBI colleague, and he told me, Ramon, we need your help from Spain. And I want to say, yeah, okay, Mas, but what do you need us for? What type of help do you need? And he said, okay, we are going to fight, to launch an operation against Tor pages. And then when you hear that, the first thing that may come to mind is Tor holding this hammer. But those of you who don't know about Tor, that is not that Tor. This is the Tor that I'm mentioning here. So the second one that I have shown on the screen. So I will summarize it for you. When you connect to the internet, often you do it from your home, and then you connect to the website, for instance, elmundo.es, which is a newspaper. And then my IP address is registered in the servers. So if someone wants to see who has access, elmundo.es, my IP will show, and then it will also show the time and the date when I connected. Tor works like that. There are at least 3 intermediate equipments, and this equipment will change all the time. They will change very difficult, because that will go through a server that is located in China, Brazil, whatever, and then 30 seconds later, those 3 servers will change their location across the world. And then Matt from the FBI told me that they wanted to launch an operation to go against Tor. And then he said that the target was the Silk Road. It was the greatest online flea market for buying and selling drugs. It was, the administrator was arrested in the US, and his name was Robert, and he has been given life sentence in the US. They offer cannabis, ecstasies, opioids, boosters. So when after that US operation, then some users created Silk Road 2, and they continue to offer the same type of stuff, any type of drug available from anywhere in the world, and the currency used was Bitcoin. And the objective was to crash all the Tor pages that had any type of flaw. There were very many other online sites to sell drugs or illicit weapons or any illicit things you can think of. For instance, Agora Market, Devolution, etc. These are just some of them. And when FBI contacted us, gave us a Spanish IP that belonged to the control panel, where the administrator of URL to websites used to connect himself. Okay, so they gave us the URL.onion. So Tor domains are onion domains, and then it's okay. Let us go and look at it. However, this had a problem. The thing is that we got those data on the 30th of September, and they told us that 21 countries will be taking joint action planned for the 27th of October. As you can imagine, I don't know whether you've been involved in any court cases or not, but I can tell you that trying to resolve this type of situation in only 27 days is a very difficult thing to do. And it happens a bit like happened to the Alice in Wonderland rabbit. That is to say, we had to hurry up, okay, just to meet that deadline for the joint action. So when we got access to the URL, this is what we found. So the website that was controlled from Spain was known as Fast Cash, and it offered the buying and selling of false euro notes. So this is what they offered: 5 10 euro notes for 25,000 euros, one 10 euro note for 6 euros, etc., etc. So we looked closer into the website and into the contents of it, and we could also see that they were offering the delivery of this false currency anywhere in the world. The currency to pay for those items was Bitcoins, and also here there were good reviews, positive feedback by users. So they were just saying that that was a good website to buy false notes. So we could clearly see that either currency was being tampered or forged, or perhaps this was just a fraud website trying to fraud anyone visiting it, that is to say, scam. However, those reviews, the use of Bitcoin and finding it in Tor took us to think that this had to do with the forgery of coins and notes. Because we were very much in a hurry, we used all those data and we went to the IT criminality office, and we told them everything that we were involved. We told them how much in a hurry we were, because all the IT crimes that take place in Tor nowadays are they go kind of unpunished. So they believe that they can do whatever they want to do and go unpunished. So our friends also reached the same conclusion. They said that yes, that it was either like forgery of notes and coins or just fraudulent sites. So we went and talked to the judge, and he gave us a judicial order, a court order. So the IP was located in the municipality in Barcelona. However, when we looked at the details of the person linked to that IP, didn't really make any sense to us because it was just a plumber, advanced age man, and he didn't look like highly expert in terms of managing or working with bitcoins and Tor, etc. So several questions came to us. So the first one is, as you may imagine, is whether that Wi-Fi had been committed or not, whether that home and the Wi-Fi hotspot had been compromised, that the security of the Wi-Fi had been breached, and that the IP of that plumber was being used. All this data made us doubt, made us have a few doubts, and then we decided to go to the spot, to go on site, and to analyze the traffic, the Wi-Fi traffic of the connections in the area. We went over there, we used tools such as acrylic Wi-Fi, and what was actually we were very, very much surprised, okay, because we couldn't really find any illicit use of the Wi-Fi of the plumber. So we were taken aback by that. So, but still, we thought that this person was not related to the actual crime. And I say, okay, let us go beyond that and let us try to find someone who meets that profile. And then we asked ourselves, well, did we find the plumber in the social networks? Did we research about him? Did we find out about his friends? And actually, yes, this person has a Facebook profile. Then we looked into his Facebook profile, and there was no clue, nothing took us to what we were looking for, but we wanted to gossip, and then we wanted to find out who he has engaged in communication with. So this that was a medicament, that was a medical drug, and he was wearing this Bitcoin t-shirt. So he looked more like a freak now. So if you wear a Bitcoin t-shirt, means that you love or that you like that coin, at least you are interested in it. And then I said, okay, let us try to find more information about him. So we didn't contact the NSA or anything. So all the information was open. So sometimes crimes or attackers commit this type of mistakes. And then we found a news that had been uploaded by this person. That was a piece of news that was broadcasted on TV. And then this person has just also posted a comment saying, now you know. Okay, so we could see that notes and then his comments, and that you about saying that you already know about it. So then again, we became more and more interested in the person. We continued looking into his profile, and then he had also posted this cartoon, and he was kind of making a joke of FBI and the activities that were launching against Tor. And then we said, okay, he is very much like the person we are looking for now. Okay, we had his face, okay, but we didn't have his actual name. He had a false profile on Facebook, and actually, he was using a woman's name. So we could have investigated, I don't know, his register, the municipality, etc. But he made it much easier for us. He had uploaded a photograph. He had been involved in a car accident with the registration plate in the clear, and we just entered the registration plate and we found this person. He was an Argentinian man and he lived in the Barcelona municipality. And actually, he was living quite close to the plumber, and there was a relationship between the two because he was the brother of the boyfriend of the daughter of the plumber. Okay, well, they knew each other, okay, to keep it short. Once we found the person, we continued looking into him, and then we could also we found conversations with other Facebook users that were Wi-Fi intruders, and they were just mentioning, "Oh, I cracked Wi-Fi networks, etc." And he was showing off. She was showing off about breaching Wi-Fi security. Still, we didn't have any evidence. So he also talked to a person who had a printer. So it was a t-shirt printer. It is true. But when you are looking for a person that forges coins and notes, well, seeing that he was in contact with a person who had a printer took us to think that perhaps if the press at the printing facility were to be changed, well, it could easily end up printing notes. So therefore, we focused more and more on him. And then from that, we asked for a search warrant. So we asked the judge to give us a search warrant so that we could go to the home of that person and then to confiscate the devices that are related with the crime that is being investigated. So we asked for 2 search warrants, one for the plumber and the other one for him. So we expected to find at least some clues in the router of the plumber and also on the Argentinian man. So what we were looking for was something very simple. I don't know whether you have tried to open up a website on the web, on the Tor web. So to do so, you need a private key file, the same as when you use PGP or any encryption program. Accessing the control panel is done through a private key file. So we had all these clues, all these data or these details. However, we needed to find the file to say that he was actually linked to the crime. So for us, finding that public key was the key for us. So first of all, we went to the domicile of this person and we found very many things. Okay, he had good money in cash. He also had like Virgin or blank credit cards. He also had a card writing machine. He had also bought and sold drugs on Tor website. So we could really see that this person had a good knowledge about the use of new technologies. And actually we were most interested in looking into his IT equipment. So the first thing that we did was to prepare some scripts so that by the time we will go into his computer, we could find any file telling us that it was a Bitcoin pairs, any Bitcoin papers that would allow us to see the receipt of bank transfers. That would be a very good evidence. Okay, we used the script and then right away we got access to the Bitcoin purses. But still, we didn't have the private key file that I mentioned before. Okay, so this looks like a joke, but actually this was true. And actually, we scanned the most widely used folders, and then we found this MP3 file referred to, or whose name was, you already know this, okay? And this was not in the folder of downloads, or it was just in a different folder, that also included some TXT files, etc. And then we did a right click on the file, and then we looked at the size of it. It was 2 megabytes. So often MP3 files are not 2 megabytes files. Often they are 4, 8, 12 megabytes. So exactly 2 megabytes made us suspect. That was really, really strange. And then when we asked him, well, this file is not what it looks like, isn't it? He didn't give us an answer. He refused to give us an answer. So we decided to download the RAM memory because we wanted to extract the password of applications that were recently used. And when he could see us, that he told us, this is a container of TrueCrypt that I created. When we opened that up with the password that he gave us, because he gave up, so we found the public key or private key to the website. So let us say that our work was kind of well finished then, or completed. Still, I had a question that I wanted to answer. And as I say, we analyzed Wi-Fi, password on site to find out whether some of them had been breached or not. So we went to the home of the plumber and we found exactly this. On the left, the laptop was configured with the website, and our real suspect, the Argentinian man, connected himself to the server of the father of the girlfriend of his brother. He used to connect remotely, and then when we asked the plumber, how do you allow for that to happen at your home? And he said, look, I've been asked to do that favor to them and I let them do it. So the plumber had the server at home, a server that was accessed remotely by our suspect man. And then on the right you see those 3 green lights, and for those of you who don't know, this is like a small farm of bitcoins. These are like small cards of bitcoins that have been prepared with the GPU, CPU to process data of blocks of data for Bitcoin and to mine, to do Bitcoin mining. So that is not a crime. But still, we were surprised again at how passionate this man was about Bitcoin. And as I say, we got the last answer to our last question. And then, well, what we could not understand in the beginning was later on cleared, because we could see now that he was accessing remotely. And what did we find in the home of the suspect? So we found a TXT file on his equipment with access keys to more than 120 Wi-Fi networks around his home. We checked them one by one, and we could really see that they were located in the neighborhood because we wanted to identify possible victims. Also, very important, the security of Wi-Fi networks. Please improve them so that people like himself do not breach into your network and get you into trouble. We also found credit cards, blank credit cards. So someone who moves about or uses store is very likely to buy bank details just to create or to copy credit card. Then the balance in the Bitcoin purse was around 17. Perhaps that doesn't look very high amount to you, but a Bitcoin is 341 euros. So the benefit or the profit that he had made wouldn't make him rich, but still he had made a profit. So we also find the private key to access the panel of the website, which was a key evidence. And also very important, this person had good technical knowledge. When you take a deposition to a person that you are arresting, you kind of feel like sympathetic, to that person. And I told him, you are too smart to do this kind of nonsense. And one of the nonsense that he did is that he breached the encryption of the metro tickets that are used in Barcelona, actually, because he wanted to save like €1. And I said, why don't you use all your expertise for something else which is more important than just to breach a metro ticket? And he had bought drugs on Tor. And then we also got all those details for further investigation. This is part of another investigation that is being carried out today. So we also found 2,000 euros in cash.
In principle, we thought we can confront him a very severe criminal, Al Capone style, doing buy and selling of bills and notes with bitcoins. But in the very end, we end up knowing that sadly in Spain we are like this. Instead of having big criminal, we found a simple scamster and fraudster. We were able to confront and act on this scam. Headlines on the newspapers out of this operation. The newspaper El País, they reflected an anonymous operation. To wrap up, I want to reflect on this point. I want loud out, even a scam case like this, as of today, can have complications at big scale. Very firstly, it's tremendously easy for users not to securize their Wi-Fi networks. It's super easy to vulnerate your neighboring Wi-Fi people surrounding us. You can access them. And it's more difficult for us to keep track of the connection. So we can use, big godless networks as using remotely infected networks. Sorry for this coughing. More and more frequently we can find encryption tools which make difficult to obtain any digital indexes of science or tips. In this case, the password was on RAM, but for many other cases, if I have the computer switch off and the person does not want to cooperate with us, it's so difficult to access all that is ciphered in a container tricky. Type in any encryption application, and it's the very same difficulty to break a password with an encryption program. Having a cipher, an algorithm cipher, pretty good. It takes us, if it's eight characters, it takes 8 months. But it's over many more characters. It takes us years, centuries, millenniums. In this very case, this person obtained a benefit of 16 bitcoins and cash money, but needless to say that certain big organization had found on Bitcoin a tool that, as per se, Bitcoin is useful, but in the hands of the cyber criminals allows to do money laundering of capitals very quickly rather than going to the traditional banking. And if you start moving money, the fruit of the crime, through Bitcoin-based models, and you use certain criminal companies taking out these Bitcoins and put it in different purses with intermediate process to make hard to tracking. It's difficult for us to keep the track of everything. Lastly, Tor, or are any anonymous navigation browsing tool. These are platforms that on their own do not damage anybody. They were born with the objective of guaranteeing the privacy and freedom of speech in countries with suppress freedom, but in the hands of criminals, they make difficult to locate criminals compared to the clean navigation. With anonymous operation, we end up making criminals knowing that we can act against them on Tor. We found any person accessing any of the pages intervened during is carrying out, and the global action. Sometimes we make mistakes. We're humans, and the action, the global action. That day we seized 430 sites on Tor. Besides, we intervene over 1 million euros in bitcoins, over 180,000 euros in cash, drugs, weapons, tools. Such a big effort to be carried out by the international community in order to release the messages. No matter what kind of breakpoint and breakthrough tools you use, you have to act on a police-sized viewpoint. This is it. Should you be interested in asking questions, we can open the floor to you. I can see a hand over there. Good afternoon. I don't know. I'm not considering myself an expert at computer, but what does scam mean in English? Sometimes we're usually use so many English lingo. I need to calibrate things. Scam is a fraud website. A scam. Did you see the Bill Gates lottery where they tell you Bill Gates will give away to you 1 million euros? Scam are all these cons on the internet. In this case, was not this obvious, but it was a cam-based con. You accessed your Facebook profile because it was open. Should it be a private profile? Should it be asking permission from NSA? Let's clear it out. Let's spell it out. I want to know. Should I have a private profile on Facebook? You can access this private profile on Facebook during a police investigation. It was a joke. Many people believe that the law enforcement group had free access to all the information available. So many times in the newspapers we get information. NSA is monitoring connections. This may happen in the States. I can tell you about Spain, which is the better case I know. Everything which is open is accessible, as you know. But if I want to obtain information from you, from your Facebook profile, because you might be conducting criminal action, I can do so by an injunction issued by a Spain's judge that tells the American Facebook company, please, you have to facilitate me this information. So you need a judge order to do so in Spain. Any more questions? Hello, I can see many hands at the back of the room. Congratulations for your marvelous presentation. At the back, I want to ask you a question. You told that this person had found this computer with over 100 passwords from their neighbors, and you loyally checked out that these passwords corresponded to the Wi-Fi passwords. How can you do so without going into these routers? Did you connect these Wi-Fi's to something? What kind of permission did you obtain for that? It was much more easier. I normally use Giddy Wi-Fi tool, which creates mapping of Calo, where you know that a point access is accessible or is close to you. In this case, we walk around that district, around Barcelona, and we saw that the access point was close enough to us. So we knock at the door. Are you the owner of the access point WLAN? What's your password? Please, you have to know that your password is vulnerable, is attacked. It's as simple as that. This week, last week, a new scandal came out. The FBI used a company to make the Tor protocol anonymous. This intervention was part of this investigation? I don't know. When we receive information from a country, we only ask something like, is this information obtained in a legal way? If the American info from Americans were obtained illegally, we apply the principle of irreprocity of the proof. The way the American they did, you have to double check with them. I cannot help you in this issue. Ask the Americans. Good evening. Once the scissors of bitcoins have been made, are they stored in a Bitcoin folder or are changed into euros? Oh, somebody wiretapping on you. That's a very good question. How can I answer back to you? When we seize the 2,000 euros in cash, it's easy. What we had to do to take the 2,000 euros, the judge officer verified there is cash 2,000. You put it in an envelope. You go to the physical bank with an account administered by the Administration of Justice, and you deposit the money physically in this banking account. With the USB containing the Bitcoin pocket, you went to the court and you said, Your Honor, the Bitcoins are in this USB. This is a file, Your Honor. If you put it in circulation through these programs, it's worth this money. So keep it there and let's see if I can move it. After that, after we have conducted several meetings with prosecutors and the Minister of Justice as to the fact that the administration has to create Bitcoin pockets and purses to transfer the Bitcoins seized into the Administration of Justice. If there are two kinds of purses, basically speaking, there is the physical tab purse, which is a file, a tab file. Should you intervene it, the criminal cannot access it, but there are other synchronized purses on email accounts. If you want to block them, you need to transfer them into an account controlled by the Ministry of Justice, but also you have to change the access passwords that person had, otherwise that criminal would have the opportunity to recover. To wrap up, the General Administration and Ministry of Justice have to create Bitcoin accounts to seize them. Any more questions? Is it true that the Spain state has spent many millions of euros in hacking team applications? Are you talking about the Italian press? I'm gonna tell you something. We work with material. I would like to have as much money as they say to buy so many things as they say. In my particular case, I can tell you that the Spain Civil Guard didn't buy anything from the hacking team. Nothing at all. Anyone else wants to pose a question? Hello, I would like to know if the civil servant was accused of complicity, as it happens with the conventional crimes. I can't hear you. I would like to know the plumber. The plumber was accused of being accomplice of complicity. No. When the plumber was deposed in as a charged person, today it would be an investigated person because the criminal law procedure changed. But at the first moment in time, you cannot know that the fact that the story was at the plumber's house was with or without the plumber's knowledge, because the plumber should have been deposing with the presence of the lawyer, and for this person should be charged with the things. In our opinion, the report we noticed that the plumber did not have criminal connection with the fact. The plumber didn't do nothing wrong. This is my opinion. This plumber was unaware of the computer system in his house. This is not a crime. This is ignorance, simply speaking. Thank you very, very much. I would like to ask you something. You have said that by using these bitcoins, and other companies can use it for money laundering, all kind of laundering. I saw and I see bells ringing. I don't know where. During a talk with Chema Alonso, many people use Google Store-based applications. They upload a game or some types of game where you can buy things with virtual money, and they do this money laundering through buying these kind of applications. How can you act on that in this regard, and how can we help you out of this situation? How can we give you help to detect this kind of wicked people? You're asking me that there are some money laundering tools, such as using virtual currency and online game platforms. Equally. Likewise, how can we combat that? In fact, how can we avoid it? I just saw very, very briefly there are some games where they start giving away virtual money in an indiscriminate way. Directly, the users start downloading these hacking things by enabling a virtual unlimited money. I don't know how it works, how engineering is working in this regard. How can you justify this from a game engineering viewpoint? Video games uploaded on Facebook. I wouldn't tell you in private which ones are, but I can tell you specifically that there is that on Facebook. Bear in mind something. The validity of a virtual currency too depends on the value that the user gives it. If you have a virtual currency, but it's not acceptable, the value of that is null, it's void. So for those virtual currency tools, which real are worth money, the very first virtual currency was the dollar linder. Are you familiar about that? For the gigs of Second Life, for the virtual world being the very first created, all these companies using virtual currency with a real distribution degree are obliged to the normal obligations applicable with the rating and tendering. They have to be control of the deposits made in real money, transfers outside and inside. But we discover a big hole to money laundering, but now I've developed certain measures that allow us to detect very easily if these holes are used for money laundering. I'll give you an example. It has to do with poker online. If I got there and I put 3,000 euros on a poker online account and I take them out some minutes ago, if I put 3,000 euros on poker online account, would be it would be to play around, to bet on that. If I take it out automatically, this makes no sense. I'm putting an intermediate patching to money laundering. All these strange monies are automatically detected by verifying cookies, the IP, the credit card connected with the sale. So there are so many verification factors. When we detect strange movements, the companies normally report this to the money laundering service, and they distribute the information to the police officer, the law enforcement groups, and the Ministry of Justice. Anyone else wants to pose a question? Thank you very much. Shouldn't have more questions. We're finished. We need to move on to the next step.